Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. So today it's a new list of cold CGC 9.8 comics at fair prices, because there's quite a few YouTube channels out there doing the trending comic and hot comic book videos, and they're pretty cool to stay on top of actually, but in my experience, hot comic books means high prices pretty much, especially in CGC 9.8 comics. So these videos here are just all about identifying some great 9.8 key issues that you can still get out there and buy right now for like a solid fair price. Like, these books aren't spiking up in price or anything like that. Okay, so 10 cold CGC 9.8 comics to get through today. First one here is a really great underfollowed Batman book, I think. It's a Batman number 332. Yeah, this one is the first Catwoman solo story in a Batman comic. In all comics, basically. Such a cool one, though, that I actually wasn't really aware of until just in the last couple weeks here. It was team member Christopher, who had messaged me on Instagram. He saw one of these on eBay in the CGC 9.8 and just wanted to get my opinion. And I remember, years ago getting into Batman books a lot, and I do remember there was like, right around the 320s was like Catwoman's first story kind of thing. But this is just a great underfollowed one. Christopher ended up going after that one in the 9.8 and bought it. So I think a great buy in the 9.8, 31 CGC 9.8s in the blue label. So yeah, Christopher, again, that 1 of 31 is just, I think, a great feeling as a Batman collector. And I really want this one, to be honest now. Yeah, like, I really love this era of Batman book, and a 1 of 31 collector item is sounding pretty cool for first Catwoman solo story. 29.2% to 9.8 ratio, so this one's really underfollowed, so you'd like to maybe see that a little lower and more rare, but more about the 1 of 31 in the 9.8 for this one. Interesting for this one, yeah, Go Collect has the fair value, I believe it's 120. Christopher, I believe, purchased his for about 160. And I think, 120, that's only going to happen if one of these 31 pop up in an auction, because this one's not really searched very much. So yeah, if one of these pop up in the 9.8 in an auction, which might be once a year, maybe you get it for 120. But I think most of these are going to be kind of 199 or best offer, 225 or best offer, and hoping to sell for about 175. I think that's a great price for this one. Batman 332, first Catwoman solo story. Right around kind of 150, 175. These first solo, Wolverine, Punisher, Catwoman, whatever they are, end up being pretty well collected key issues over time. And I just think this is a cool underfollowed one that if you want to get it for kind of 150 to 175 now, I think that's great. Over time, I think this one could, get up there to like maybe $300 just over time. First Catwoman solo story. And a bit of the wild card, I think, is the Batman movie coming out next year. I think Catwoman is going to be a really big character in that movie. So maybe Catwoman books in general just really heat up, and now is kind of the time to buy before they heat up. So yeah, and Batman 332 in the 9.8, 1 of 31 out there in the blue label, I think is just a great book. And it definitely fits on a cold list. Yeah, you don't see people talking about this one too much. All right, our next one is a Batman New 52 number 2. Yeah, and I got this one in the raw here. So this one's cool. It's the first appearance of William Cobb as Talon. And Talon, pretty cool Batman villain, and moving forward here with the Batman movie coming out next year. I've sort of read and I noticed on a couple of kind of trailer analysis that the Riddler's card in the trailer of the Batman movie for next year has owls on the card. So people are like, oh, the Court of Owls are going to be in the next Batman movie, and I think that's a pretty good bet. And yeah, Talon being kind of the main assassin for the Court of Owls, pretty much. So this is kind of a cool one. Interesting, like, this is the first print. So in this one, in the 9.8, there's 213 CGC 9.8s in the blue label, 61.4% to 9.8 ratio. This is a modern, so, not too rare in the 9.8, but it keeps it nice and affordable. So for this one, in the first print, there's a sketch version as well. But in the first print, this one in the 9.8, you kind of see them, like, one went for 71 in an auction, and then a couple others selling sort of in the 90 to 100 range. So again, yeah, if you're super patient, maybe you get it closer to, in the sort of 70s. But a lot of people sort of wanting this one now are paying 90 to 100 in the first print. So personally, I really like the Jim Lee variant of this one. I yeah, the eye appeal of the Jim Lee cover, I think, is a lot better, kind of a Batman cover, than the Capullo cover here. So the Jim Lee variant in the 9.8, I saw a completed listing for that one on the blue label, so not signed or anything. $132.50 in the CGC 9.8 for, yeah, this is the first appearance of Talon with the cool Jim Lee variant cover. I wish I saw that auction. Like, yeah, I really would have wanted to bid on that, and I think $132.50 is a great price. You know, this Jim Lee variant, I'd probably be willing to pay up to $150, maybe even a little bit more in the 9.8. So this is one to consider, though, and there's some potential with Talon. Yeah, he certainly hasn't been in too much yet, and with those little teasers of the Court of Owls, this one, and I think it's like Batman number 6, New 52, is first full appearance of the Court of Owls, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that exactly, but yeah, these issues here could be a decent time to kind of buy in the lulls before the next Batman trailer comes out, and then obviously the movie's going to come out at some point. So one to consider, Batman number 2 in the New 52. Next one here is an Amazing Spider-Man 217. This is the first appearance of Mud Thing, or when Sandman and Hydro Man come together to create Mud Thing, the kind of monster. This is definitely kind of an underfollowed Spider-Man minor key issue, I would say. I wouldn't say it's like a big key issue, but I really like the cover on this one. Yeah, cool cover, lots of colors, and just, I think, a cool collectible cover that not a lot of, you don't see it very much from, you know, Spider-Man fans and everything, and in the 9.8, pretty decent price, I think. So 174 CGC 9.8s in the blue label for this one. Not too bad at all. For a Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man book, that's not a lot at all, actually, but, you know, still enough to kind of make this one gettable in the CGC 9.8, which is good. 48.3% the 9.8 ratio, so not too rare in the 9.8, with almost half of them, of all graded copies, being CGC 9.8s. So, having a look at the price, because it's not that rare in the 9.8, this keeps this one affordable. It's a pretty cool one. There's one online right now in a 9.8 off-white to white pages. It's in an old case too, I believe. And that one, they're asking $130 or best offer. I think it's $129.99 or best offer. So I think in this one, you know, in the white pages 9.8 looking great, you might want to pay $120 to $130 for this one. Yeah, I think it's worth that. I think this is a cool Spidey cover of the era. You know, the off-white to white one at $130 or best offer, you might, like, if you're really patient on this one, you could probably get it for around $100 in an auction in the CGC 9.8. And for that kind of money, I think Amazing Spider-Man 217, the first Mud Thing with the cool cover, is kind of a cool collector item around that kind of price in the CGC 9.8. So yeah, one to consider, fits on a cold list, absolutely. Yeah, nobody really talks about that one too much. All right, next one here is a cool one that I think really has some underrated potential. It's Secret Wars number 7. Yeah, Marvel superhero, Secret Wars number 7. The first appearance of new Spider-Woman, who's Julia Carpenter. And so you get the first appearance, obviously, the new Spider-Woman in this one. With Secret Wars, there's been some whispers and rumors here in the last year or two where the next sort of MCU big phase, you know, in a couple years probably, could be Secret Wars. Like, it's been Avengers, basically, you know, in the last little bit. That's been kind of the cornerstone. But there's been some rumors that maybe they'll go in the Secret Wars direction. And I think if they did that, a Julia Carpenter Spider-Woman probably shows up in those Secret Wars movies, I think. So now's the kind of time to buy. And, you know, this is just kind of a cool one in the 9.8 to grab too. Yeah, I got my Raw 2 out here. I got a decent Raw in this one, but no 9.8 for me. Not yet, anyway. 368 CGC 9.8s out there in the blue label, so pretty collectible, this one. 40.9% the CGC 9.8 ratio. So of all graded copies, 40.9% of them are 9.8s. That's not very rare for like a mid-80s book, but keeps it affordable. And yeah, this one's definitely a good one if you're on a budget. Get into prices in a sec, but as I said, like, if the Julia Carpenter got into an MCU movie, instantly this is like 350 to 400. Like, if it was like confirmed, like she's gonna be in it. I think that's the ultimate potential, but if that doesn't happen, this is just kind of a cool one that I think you could certainly own. A couple of completed listings here in the 9.8 for really good prices, I think. $146.50 and $165 in the CGC 9.8 US dollars. I think though that's, you know, great prices to aim for. That's kind of a lower end of fair market value, I think. And this one, because there's 368 out there, you can be patient on it. and sort of, you know, hope to wait for an auction and get it around 150 bucks, let's call it. I think is a great price. Certainly that's the ultimate potential if she gets into the MCU movie. But yeah, first appearance of Spider-Woman, you know, maybe they start bringing Julia Carpenter back, and certainly, you know, there's almost no reason why this shouldn't be any more collected than the first Spider-Gwen. Although first Spider-Gwen had the movie already and pop culture loves her and everything, so I understand that. But, you know, maybe this happens in the future with Julia Carpenter. You never know, especially if MCU does go with the Secret Wars movies. But a pretty cool collector item in the 9.8. Secret Wars 7, yeah, one to consider for a fair price. Next one's a great one if you're an Iron Man fan. Yeah, it's an Iron Man 126. Yeah, this is a Tales of Suspense 39 homage. So first appearance of Iron Man homage on an Iron Man comic. It really makes sense. And yeah, this is just, from a lot of angles, a really cool collector item, I think. There's not too many key issues from this sort of, you know, era of Iron Man comics to collect. Like I got Iron Man 219. That's the first appearance of Ghost. That's one of them, but there's a few others. But you know, first, who was the next Iron Man there? Jim Rhodes. Yeah, that's another one. First appearance of Jim Rhodes. But this is another one too that I think is more underfollowed than those last two I just mentioned. But 41 CGC 9.8s out there. That's cool. This is, you know, the cool Tales of Suspense homage. Only one of 41 in the 9.8. This is definitely one to consider if you're an Iron Man fan. 27.3% the 9.8 ratio. Not too bad, you know, not too rare though. I think this is a 1979 book. So not too rare in the 9.8 there, but it keeps it pretty affordable. $140 is what Go Collect has this one at. I have a feeling that's probably pretty tough to get. You know, most of these I think would probably, there's none on eBay right now. Yeah, no completed sales on eBay either. So only 41 of them out there. It gives you an idea of how rare this one is. But I think, you know, 140 there. Most people, you'll probably see this popping up at 200 or 225 or best offer. I think around 175, that would make sense for me. Yeah, this is just a cool one. There's only 41 of them out there in the 9.8 for 175 bucks. With the cool homage, yeah, I would just really enjoy having this one, I think. So, yeah, if you're an Iron Man fan, consider this one, absolutely. Hopefully closer to 150 in the 9.8. I think it's just a fantastic buy for Iron Man 126. Next one's a great one, too. Yeah, a good variety on this list, I think. Next one, Green Lantern 182. This is when John Stewart becomes Green Lantern. And so, you know, certainly they've made a Green Lantern movie before. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds was in it, and it kind of didn't do that well. I actually really love that movie. That's like one of my favorite underfollowed, underappreciated superhero movies. Yeah, Green Lantern. Definitely check it out if you haven't. But, you know, maybe they'll make a Green Lantern movie moving forward. A really cool way they can make it totally different is having John Stewart, I think, as the Green Lantern. So I think this one has a bit of an underrated potential too. And there was one on eBay right now. Yeah, I think it's still on eBay. I'm pretty sure I got it on my watch list. A little bit overpriced. We'll get into the prices. Shipping to Canada was too expensive for me. But this book, only 11 CGC 9.8s out there. So a 1 of 11 in this book for the CGC 9.8 with a pretty, you know, big key moment, I think, where John Stewart becomes a Green Lantern. This is one to think about if you're a Green Lantern fan, for sure. Yeah, and with 11 out there in the raw, in the 9.8, maybe consider this one in the raw, because it's going to be hard to find in the 9.8. 35.5% the CGC 9.8 ratio. Not too bad, but there's just not so many graded, so you'd probably like to see that lower, but more about the 1 of 11. But for Green Lantern 182, mentioned that one online. Go Collect's got the fair value at 160 for this one. I'm not seeing any completed listings on eBay. I think 160 is probably pretty tough to get. And with the one online, I'm pretty sure it's like 225 or 250. It might be a best offer, but maybe you want to consider that. If you're the biggest Green Lantern fan, it might be worth it, because there's only 11 of these out there. So maybe that, you know, 200-ish price is worth it. But possibly in the raw for this one. This is just, I think, has some underrated potential. If John Stewart was in the next Green Lantern movie, I think that would be well received and a pretty great movie to see. And certainly this book would do well with John Stewart becoming Green Lantern in this one. Yeah, so Green Lantern 182 is one to consider on a cold list. Yeah, nobody's talking about that, so it fits on a cold list, absolutely. Okay, next one's a modern that's really underfollowed. It's a Deathstroke number 30. This is kind of part one of Deathstroke versus Batman, the sort of little story arc that they had in this run of Deathstroke. So Deathstroke number 30. I really like the Francesco Mattia variant cover. Yeah, with a cool Deathstroke looking on the cover with like Superman's cape through his sword. Really great cover, well executed, looks awesome. So that's kind of the one I would go after in this one. This is maybe one to consider in the raw. In the 9.8 blue label, there's only one of them in the 9.8. Interesting though, a 10 in the signature series 9.8. So yeah, certainly like just huge Francesco Mattia fans loving this cover and probably getting them to sign it at a con. So yeah, with this one, I found there's only one 9.8 on the census. I went on Go Collect. They say the fair market value is $50 in the 9.8, but there's only one on the census, so I don't really know how they got that. Who knows if that one ever has been sold. I did see a signature series, though, of the variant cover, Mattia variant, for $120. I think that's a pretty great price. Yeah, signed by Mattia for $120. This is just a cool, eye-appealing Deathstroke cover and part one of the Deathstroke vs. Batman storyline. So yeah, this is just one that kind of caught my eye, and I thought it's certainly not talked about very much, and you can get it for a fair price. So fits on the list here. All right, the next one is a Fantastic Four number 210. Yeah, and I really enjoy these Galactus covers, yeah, over time. They just, a lot of them are just really colorful and eye-appealing, and yeah, there was the one there, I forget exactly what, I'd recommended one there, a Fantastic Four Galactus cover, a John Byrne cover later on. This is an older book though, Fantastic Four 210 here, a great Galactus cover in the CGC 9.8. There's only 30 9.8s in the blue label. And interesting for this one, there's one on eBay right now in this one. I'm watching it. You know, decent shipping to Canada on this one too. I think it's $225. I was really thinking about this one. Like, I just really love these colorful Galactus covers, and this one's really eye-appealing and one I would really enjoy having, I think. It's still out there. I did not purchase it. It's a 1 of 30 in the 9.8, so maybe you want to consider that one. 31.3% the CGC 9.8 ratio, so of all graded copies, 31.3% of them are 9.8s. This one's kind of, with this whole list, pretty underfollowed, so they're not very many rare 9.8 ratios on this one. So interesting with this one, Go Collect's got it at 120. That I think is, like, if you got this for 120, that's an insta buy. Like, I think that's a great buy. That one online being kind of, I'm pretty sure was 225 OBO, or maybe just a buy now. Kind of forgetting, but you know, this one, if you're the biggest Galactus fan, I think right around 150 to 175 is pretty much an insta buy. If you're big into 9.8s, big Galactus fan, this is one to consider. Fantastic Four 210, a 1 of 30 in the blue label 9.8 for 150 to 175. Like, that is just sounding a pretty great deal for a Galactus fan out there. Okay, next one's a cool modern to consider that you can get on an affordable budget. It's Catwoman number 23. This is the first appearance of Catgirl. And yeah, it's cool. You kind of get Catgirl on the cover. She's kind of sitting in the tree a little bit. So I do like the first print, normal, you know, first print cover on this one, because you get Catgirl on the cover. There's a 44 9.8s of this one on the census. This one just coming out in 2020, a couple months ago. So brand new book. Got a bit of a following though. Yeah, 44 9.8s. I've noticed this one too on eBay. And, you know, I've thought of, you know, that's kind of cool for his Catgirl. But, you know, I have not purchased this one yet at all, or in the raw or 9.8, but if you're a Batman fan, this might be one to consider. Yeah, first appearance of Catgirl, kind of a new female hero. 84.6% the CGC 9.8 ratio. Yeah, this is a brand new one, so not very rare in the 9.8. So the range of prices on this one, seeing one sell for kind of up to 77, you know, maybe 80 is probably the top, but also seeing a couple going in auction for $51 and $53. So this is one where it's a brand new modern, so I would expect quite a few 9.8s to become getting graded in the next 6 months. So this is one you want to be patient on, wait for an auction, and hopefully get it kind of, you know, yeah, with a couple going for 50 something. Yeah, let's call it around 60 bucks, I think would be super fair, and maybe if you get super lucky, you know, closer to 50. But Catwoman 23 in the 9.8, first Catgirl, I think is a modern to consider. Yeah, if you're a Batman fan, and I am a Batman fan, and this one, yeah, it just kind of caught my eye, and I like the cover too, so yeah, for the price, this one might be one to grab. Certainly near closer to that $50 price. Okay, last one on the cold list here. It's a Detective Comics number 608. Yeah, Detective 608 is a pretty cool one that I'm surprised I don't have this one because me being such a big Batman villains fan. It's the first appearance of Anarky, who I think is Joker's son too. I'm pretty sure. I've heard that from somewhere. But so yeah, maybe there's some potential there. But first appearance of Anarky, I think there's no real promotion for Anarky right now. But if they ever decided to roll with Anarky in like a movie or something like that, I think that would be cool. And yeah, this book would definitely do well. So yeah, and it's definitely the first appearance of a Batman villain in the modern age. They're pretty well collected books. There's 157 CGC 9.8s in the blue label. 47.6% of them are CGC 9.8s of all graded copies. That's you'd like to see that maybe a little bit better. This one with kind of the late 80s, early 90s there, the newsstands are pretty collectible. So this one might be worth it in the newsstand. In the direct for Detective Comics 608, most are selling like right around $85, I would say. Sort of $80 to $90 in the direct is kind of a fair value. That newsstand, like I'd probably be willing to pay up to $120-ish for a newsstand version, and I think that would be a pretty cool buy, I think, if you wanted to, maybe get at this book from a more rare angle. And yeah, maybe grab a newsstand for $125 now, and if they ever made an Anarky movie, I could see the newsstand going for like $300, $350 in the CGC 9.8. And yeah, being that it is from that era where the newsstands are kind of rare, that might be an option. But Detective Comics 608, first Anarky. As a Batman fan, and I have a lot of villain first appearances, this one is one I've considered in the past, and just seems, I think, whenever I maybe see an auction for this book, like it's off-centered or, it doesn't look perfect, so I just end up not pulling the trigger. But one to consider, Detective Comics 608, first appearance of Anarky. All right, that'll be it for the cold list today. Yeah, it's 10 CGC 9.8s we got through there. I'll have a full list in the description below. Yeah, I really love these cold list videos, though. Definitely, I think it's much more savvy as a collector to think about, some 9.8s that are great key issues, that are awesome, but aren't hot and, they're not spiking up in price or anything, because there's so many comic books out there that there's definitely going to be some great books that you can buy at fair prices. And then it's a pretty great feeling when, a year or two down the road, if some pop culture stuff happens for that book that you bought cold, a lot of times you just really enjoy the prices, like looking at some of the prices, you're like, oh my God, like I bought that when nobody was talking about it, and now look at those prices. Like that's where it can kind of get fun, and I think a much more savvy way to sort of hunt these great cold comics at fair prices. Yeah, so that's what these videos are all about here. Now, if you haven't already, I would invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8. Yeah, I'd love to have you on our comic book collecting and comic book investing team. Hit the bell for all the latest video notifications. Add me on Instagram and Twitter as well. All the links in the description below. Okay, yeah, good variety on this list too. Yeah, just, good DC, Marvel, lot of underfollowed ones on this one too. Yeah, definitely a list to consider in the raw, because there's just some of these, just not very many 9.8s out there. So yeah, check out your raws too in these really cool books, I think. Okay, thanks so much for watching today. Really appreciate all the support from the whole team, and message me on Instagram. Yeah, message me on Instagram, probably the easiest way to get a hold of me if you had any questions. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.